She chose my best friend over me. They got married. Years later, she came back, saying I was her biggest mistake. But I'm not here to fix regrets. Some people remember their first heartbreak like a thunderclap. For me, it was quieter, like the slow creak of a door closing behind you forever. Her name was Sarah, and once upon a time, I really believed she was it for me. We met during our sophomore year at Ohio State. She was studying English Lit and had this way of scribbling notes in the margins of books that made you feel like she was having full conversations with the author. I was the quiet guy who stuck to mechanical engineering, buried in numbers, not novels. But she noticed me. Somehow, she noticed me. Our friendship started in the library, over bad coffee and shared study tables. It felt easy with her. Natural. Like I had known her for years. We spent afternoons wrapped in conversations about everything, childhood memories, songs that made us cry, what kind of dogs we wanted when we were older. I fell for her slowly, and then all at once. But I never said it. Not right away. There was one person I did confide in, though. Jake. He was my roommate, my best friend since high school, and the one person I trusted with everything. He was funny in a cocky kind of way, the type that made people lean in when he talked. Sarah liked him, too. Of course she did. Everyone liked Jake. I never thought anything of it. At first. Then one day, out of nowhere, Sarah told me she had news. I remember the way she looked at me, hesitant, like she was about to confess something that might hurt. And then she said it. I think I'm falling for Jake. My whole world tilted. I smiled. Told her I was happy for them. Said Jake was a great guy. Then I went home that night and stared at the ceiling for hours, not feeling a damn thing except this weird, hollow stretch in my chest. They started dating 2 weeks later. He asked me if I was okay with it. And like an idiot, I said, yeah, of course. I even helped him pick out the ring a year later. They got married the summer after graduation, under a white arch in her parents' backyard, and I stood beside him as his best man. The speech I gave made people laugh, even cry. But the whole time, I felt like I was delivering a eulogy for a life I would never have. And the worst part? No one knew. Not Jake. Not Sarah. Not even my own mother. Just me and that hollow stretch in my chest. But life moves on, right? You find a way to bury those ghosts. You learn how to smile again. You even meet other people. I did all of that. I made peace with it. At least, I thought I had. Until last Friday, when I opened my inbox and saw her name after all these years. Hey, the message read, I know this is unexpected, but can we talk? And just like that, the door creaked open again. I stared at that message for a long time. Could not bring myself to open it. Just stared at the preview line like it might change if I blinked enough times. It had been 9 years. 9 years since their wedding. 8 since they moved to Seattle. 7 since I stopped checking her social media like a damn ghost sneaking through someone else's life. And now, just one word, hey, was pulling all of it back. Eventually, I clicked. She wrote, I do not even know where to start. Jake and I, we are no longer together. I never forgot you. There are things I wish I had said. Can I call you sometime? That was it. No details. No apology. Just a handful of sentences that felt like someone opening a window in the middle of winter. I did not respond. Not right away. I went for a walk instead. Needed air. Needed space. Funny how grief never really leaves. It just lies down for a while. It's quiet. But the moment someone nudges it awake, it stretches out like it owns the place. As I walked, I started remembering things I had not thought about in years. The way Sarah would nudge my shoulder with hers when we sat on the campus lawn. How she used to steal my pens even though she had her own. The time we spent a whole night walking in the rain because she said the city looked better when it cried. I remembered the night I almost told her how I felt. It was just before winter break. We were sitting on the roof of our apartment building, wrapped in a shared blanket. She was rambling about her dreams, wanting to teach, maybe write a book. I was quiet, listening, but my heart was pounding. I had the words ready. I was going to say them. But then Jake burst through the stairwell door with hot chocolate and a dumb joke. She laughed and leaned into him, like it was the most natural thing in the world. That was the moment I knew. I had waited too long. By the time I got back to my apartment that night, I had already decided. I would let them be happy. I would not be the guy who got bitter, who clung to something that never even happened. And I stuck to that. For years. Built a life. Got a decent job. Traveled. Even dated a little. But never fell again. Not really. Because part of me still lived in that moment. On that roof. Wrapped in a blanket I never got to keep. Now, she was back. And with one message, she had turned all those buried pieces into something raw again. I finally replied that night. Yeah, we can talk. I had sinned. And right away, I felt it, regret curling in my stomach. But it was too late. The door was open now, and she was already stepping through. Her voice still sounded the same. Soft, a little hesitant, like she was afraid of saying too much. Or maybe afraid I would hang up. Truth be told, I thought about it. The moment she said my name, something clenched in my chest. We talked for almost an hour. Or rather, she talked. Said things like, I never expected to be back here, and you were always the one I trusted most. I did not say much. Mostly listened. Let her fill the silence with pieces of her story. Jake had cheated. Repeatedly, it turned out. She said she found out 2 years ago. Stayed anyway. Tried to work through it. Said she thought marriage meant writing out the hard parts. Said it with a bitter laugh, like she knew how naive it sounded now. But that was not what hit me the hardest. It was the way she said my name. She said it like it still meant something. Like it was a name she had held onto in the quiet moments, when things were falling apart. And then she said something I did not expect. I think I made the wrong choice. The words just hung there. I did not know what to say. Not right away. My mind was racing, trying to sort through the years, the scars, the what-ifs. I asked her if Jake knew she had reached out to me. She said no. That he probably would not care if he did. She sounded broken. Not dramatic, just tired. Like someone who had spent too long pretending everything was fine. Then she started talking about college. About the late-night study sessions. The dumb jokes we used to tell. That one Halloween we dressed as matching characters from The Office and laughed about it for weeks. She even brought up the night on the roof. I was waiting for you to say something, she said. I thought you would. My breath caught. You looked at me like you wanted to. I did not deny it. And I did not tell her how many times I had replayed that night, wishing I had been braver. Wishing I had said it out loud instead of letting the moment slip away. There was a long pause. Then she said, Can we see each other? Just to talk. I told her I would think about it. Hung up soon after. Could not handle any more. Then I sat in the dark for a long time, staring at nothing, trying to decide whether this was healing or just an old wound being reopened. Some part of me wanted to see her again. But another part, the part that remembered how it felt to stand at that wedding with a smile glued on my face, was not so sure. And as I sat there, trying to make sense of it all, I got a message from Jake. Just one sentence. I heard Sarah called you. I stared at his text for a while. It sat there on my screen like a warning label. Jake had always been direct. Never one to dance around the truth. But this message, this quiet little sentence, felt more like a dare than anything else. I heard Sarah called you. No question mark. No follow-up. Just a simple fact, thrown out like bait. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because just seeing his name again stirred up things I had worked years to bury. We had been tight once. Real tight. Brothers in all but blood. From middle school locker room pranks to college apartment parties. He was there when my dad died. I was there when his mom got sick. We built our friendship on loyalty, trust, and the belief that we would always have each other's backs. But then came Sarah. And I will be honest, part of me had never forgiven him. Not because he ended up with her, but because deep down, I had a gut feeling he knew how I felt. There were signs. Like the way he asked me, almost too casually, if I had ever thought of her that way. Or the way he looked at me the night he told me he was going to ask her out. Like he already knew the answer. But I said nothing. Gave him the green light. Put on the smile. Pretended it didn't gut me. I told myself it was love. And if she loved him back, then that was all that mattered. But now, years later, he was reaching out. And I didn't know if it was guilt or just curiosity driving him. I didn't reply. Instead, I scrolled through my photos until I found an old one. It was the three of us, me, Sarah, Jake, at the beach during senior year. She had her arm linked with mine, barefoot in the sand, laughing at something Jake had shouted from behind the camera. For a split second, I remembered what it felt like to be part of something whole. Then my phone buzzed again. Another message from Sarah. Still thinking about you. That did it. I tossed the phone across the couch like it had burned me. Because now everything was spinning again. Old emotions. New guilt. That fragile piece I had spent years building, cracking under the weight of what-ifs. And worst of all, I knew I was going to say yes to seeing her. Even though I shouldn't. Even though Jake knew. Even though nothing good ever comes from digging up the past. I knew it was already happening. And I knew I wasn't ready. We picked a neutral place. A small cafe on the east side of town. Quiet. Dim lighting. The kind of place where no one asks questions if you sit there too long nursing a coffee. I got there early. Nervous energy had me checking the door every few minutes, pretending to scroll through my phone just to keep from pacing. My stomach was tight, like it already knew this was a bad idea. Then she walked in. Same soft walk, same nervous hands brushing hair behind her ears. But different too. Her face carried a weight I had never seen before. The glow she used to carry had faded, replaced by something older, something bruised. She smiled when she saw me. A sad smile. The kind you give when you are not sure if you're welcome. We hugged, awkwardly. Her coat still smelled like the same perfume she used to wear back in college. That alone hit me harder than it should have. We talked. Started slow. Safe topics. Work. Life. Her move back home. My promotion. But eventually, the conversation turned. I think I made a mistake, she said again, eyes downcast. I asked what she meant, even though I already knew. Back then, she said. I thought I chose the safer path. Jake was steady, confident. Everything looked right on paper. But you. She paused. You were the one who made me feel seen. That word, seen, got to me. Because that was exactly how she had made me feel, once. And I told her that. Told her I had never felt more alive than I did in those late-night talks, those unspoken glances across campus hallways. She nodded, then reached for my hand. I let her. And that was the moment I realized something was wrong. Because as much as I had missed her, as much as I had dreamed of this moment, there was a heaviness in her touch. A desperation. Not love. Not the old warmth. But something else. Something hollow. I'm not here to ask for anything, she whispered. I just needed you to know. But I could feel it. She was asking for something. Not directly. Not yet. But it was there. Hanging in the air like fog. I sipped my coffee and stared at the hand still holding mine. And I thought, maybe closure does not come in the form of answers. Maybe it comes in the questions we finally stopped needing to ask. Still, I said nothing. And when she looked at me again, I saw it, behind the sadness, behind the regret. A flicker of hope. That maybe I still loved her. That maybe I would say yes. And right then, I realized something terrifying. I was not sure if I had it in me to tell her no. That night, after I got home, I could not sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my thoughts looping like a busted record. Her hand in mine. The way her voice trembled. The way it all felt so familiar and so foreign at the same time. And then the memories came. That 4th of July at the lake house. Jake had dragged us out there, promising the best fireworks this side of the state. We cooked burgers, swam until sunset, and ended the night lying on the deck, watching the sky light up. I remember Sarah brushing against me in the dark, our shoulders touching, and her whispering something like, "This is one of those nights I'll remember forever." At the time, I thought she meant us. That maybe, just maybe, we were building something together. Turns out, it was the last summer before everything shifted. I remembered the wedding too. Every damn detail. I remembered holding the ring box in my hand minutes before stepping onto that stage. I remembered Jake fixing his tie and asking me, "You think she's nervous?" And me, forcing a laugh, replying, "She'd be crazy not to be." What I did not say, what I could not say, was that I was the one shaking. Not from joy. From loss. Because watching the two of them get married felt like watching my own future vanish. And now she was back. Not married. Not happy. Not certain. But present. And for the first time in nearly a decade, she was reaching out to me. I could not lie to myself. Part of me wanted to say yes. To everything. To whatever us might look like now. But another part, a quieter, stronger part, remembered how long it took to climb out of that hole. How many nights I spent wondering if I had been enough. If I had just been braver, faster, louder, would she have chosen me? I had gone to therapy, gotten promoted, made new friends, built a life that was mine alone. And now? Now she wanted to step back into it like it was a room she forgot to lock on her way out. A message buzzed on my phone. Jake again. I know what she's doing. Be careful. No punctuation. No emotion. Just a warning. I stared at the screen, heart racing. Because suddenly it felt like the two of them had never really left my life. They had just been circling, waiting for the right moment. And that moment had arrived. The next day she texted, "Are you free tonight?" I told her no. Truth was, I had nothing planned. No work. No dinner. No distractions. But I needed space. Instead, I went for a drive. No destination, just roads I had not traveled in years. Ended up by the river, that old spot we used to go when campus felt too crowded. Back then, It was where we let things breathe. Talked about fears, dreams, things we could not say out loud in daylight. I parked, cut the engine, and just sat there, staring at the water like it might whisper answers. And that is when I saw her again, Sarah. In my mind. Back when she wore that mustard-colored cardigan she claimed made her look like a librarian. Hair in a messy bun, eyes lit up with the kind of fire that makes you forget you were tired. She used to dream big, teach overseas, publish something that mattered, open a community bookstore. But she never did any of it. Instead, she married Jake, moved west, got a job at a nonprofit that looked good on paper but chewed her spirit like gum. I only knew that because a mutual friend slipped it into conversation years ago. So now here she was, circling back, not with a ring on her finger or a vision in her eyes, but with ghosts. And I could not tell if I was one of them or the guy she thought might still save her. That was what kept gnawing at me. Was I him again? The safe harbor? The one who listened, understood, stayed steady? Or just a backup plan? Someone to soften the fall now that the dream had cracked? A voice in my head asked me something I had been avoiding. If she had never married Jake, if she had chosen me from the start, would it have worked? I did not know. Because the truth was, I was not the same person anymore. Neither was she. And maybe, just maybe, what we had back then only lived in memory, preserved like a snapshot, perfect, untouchable, unreal. I left the river just before midnight. No music, just thoughts. When I got home, I saw her name on my phone again. One unread message. Please don't shut me out. I set the phone down, looked at it like it was a fuse already burning, because whether I answered or not, something was going to explode. 2 days passed. I did not reply to her message. Thought if I gave it time, things would cool off. That maybe she would realize this was just nostalgia playing tricks on both of us. But she did not fade away. She showed up, knocked on my door like it was still hers to knock on. I opened it, half expecting a stranger, but there she was, coat wrapped tight, eyes red like she had not slept, holding a grocery bag with 2 coffees inside. I figured you wouldn't answer if I asked, she said. I stepped aside, let her in, because sometimes the heart acts before the brain gets a vote. We sat in the kitchen, the same one I had painted last fall, listening to an old playlist she once made me. That detail did not escape her. She looked around like she was trying to memorize it all. You did well, she said, her voice low. I always thought you would. That should have felt good. But it just stung. Because where was that belief back then? When I needed it most? She talked again. About the divorce. About therapy. About how Jake had turned into someone she barely recognized, cold, dismissive, secretive. And then she said something I was not ready for. I do not know what I am asking from you, but I know I feel safe when I think about you. I did not speak. Not yet. Because she was not asking for coffee or conversation. She was asking for something she did not know how to name. A restart. A rewrite. Maybe even redemption. She reached across the table, touched my hand again. That same quiet desperation in her fingers. I used to think love had to look a certain way, she whispered. But I was wrong. What we had, what I threw away. I see it now. I closed my eyes. Because part of me wanted to reach back. To say, I never stopped feeling it. But something else, stronger, kept my hand still. A voice inside that said, you are not here to fix anyone. She leaned closer, barely above a whisper now. Do you think we could try again? And right then or right there, I knew. This was the moment everything would hinge on. A yes would mean reopening every scar, risking everything I had built. A no would mean walking away from the one person I had loved more than anyone. I looked her in the eyes, and I chose. I can't, I said. 2 words. That was it. Her hand stayed there on the table for a few seconds, as if hoping I would take it after all. But I didn't. She blinked, like she had not fully processed it. Then her shoulders dropped. I thought maybe, she started. I shook my head gently. I know. I did too. Once. There was no anger in my voice. No blame. Just truth. The kind of truth that comes after years of carrying something alone. She looked down, then back up at me. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I know, I cut in. You did what felt right at the time. So did I. And maybe that's the only way this story could have gone. She nodded slowly, her face tight like she was holding back tears. I just kept thinking, if we could go back. But we can't, I said. And if we could, we'd still be who we were back then, not who we are now. I stood, not to push her out, but because sitting felt impossible. I don't hate you, Sarah. I never did. But this, what you're asking for, it's not about love. It's about comfort. And I've worked too hard to find peace to trade it for pieces. She stood too. And for a second, I thought she might say something cruel. Or beg. Or break. But she just whispered, okay. Then she walked to the door, her steps slow, like each one was heavier than the last. Before she opened it, she looked back. Thank you, she said. Not for anything I gave, but maybe for the thing I didn't. Then she left. And I stood there, heart pounding, throat tight, watching the door close again, this time for real. Not slammed. Not locked. Just closed. And that quiet? It felt like freedom. That night, I sat on the porch with a blanket and a cheap beer, watching the wind bend the trees. No music. No phone. Just silence. And for the first time in years, it did not feel empty. It felt earned. The memories came anyway. They always do. But this time, they did not hurt. Not like before. They just drifted in and out, soft, familiar. Like flipping through an old photo album you finally stopped trying to rearrange. I thought about Sarah. Not the woman who showed up at my door yesterday, but the girl who once danced barefoot in the rain, who tried to read me poetry at 3 a.m, who kissed me on the cheek once and laughed like it was a secret. She was real, and so was what we had. But it ended, and I had survived it. Better yet, I had become someone new because of it. Not bitter. Not broken. Just whole. The next morning, I saw one last message from her. Thank you for being honest. I think I needed that more than anything. I did not reply. Not out of cruelty. But because sometimes, closure does not come wrapped in long conversations or second chances. Sometimes, it is a quiet moment on your porch, where you finally realize you made it. Not with her. Not because of her. But in spite of everything. And that is the kind of love story no one talks about. The one where you choose yourself. And mean it.